Hey, welcome back to the Keep It Bright podcast. Thank you for joining me. This week I'm talking about some tips to help you when you feel triggered by something. So the other month I had been kind of caught off guard by something that I found really triggering, and it happened on like a TV program I was watching, and it was like totally unexpected, wasn't expecting that to happen. And then again, literally the day after, on some news thing that like was just on and I didn't like choose to watch basically. And God, I found both of them, even just thinking about them now, it's just a lot. And if there's something that like triggers you, then obviously you know what that feels like, you know how like consuming it is, how much it just shakes up your world, and can be really like hard to move forward from when you feel like so triggered by something. So I'm not like an expert by any means in this like field. Like I said, I was triggered by something that I find really upsetting, and that kind of sends me spiraling, and it's not something that I have mastered by any means, but it's something that I was struggling with like the other month. So I posted on my Instagram asking for tips from my followers of if anyone had anything that particularly helped them when they felt that, because I was just in a bad place with that. And it's not even something that like I've personally been affected by, it's just something that is kind of like things going on in the world that affect lots of people, and it just really like sends me under anyway. So it's not something I can like personally kind of get therapy or something to like recover from or kind of move forward from. It's just like a world issue that sends me under. Anyway, so I was in a bad place and I asked in my stories for everyone's tips of what helps them, and there was so many really, really useful answers, and I'm sure if you Google there will be as well. I just didn't think to do that. I was just thinking my own community, what does everybody do? And I had loads of helpful answers, so I thought I'd just share them, because in case you're struggling at the moment, or when you are struggling, you could come back and listen to this and hopefully find something that works for you from the tips everyone shared, and something that's helpful. Before I begin, something that I find helps me is just being really like gentle with myself and telling the people around me that I'm struggling so that they're aware, and just maybe trying to get, if someone's like with me or in my household, getting them to like distract me, and definitely open to hugs, and just feeling kind of safe, and just being extra like gentle and kind to myself at those times. So that's kind of like what I would usually do, but the tips that were shared were like far more helpful than that. So I just wanted to preface with what I normally do, and these things are obviously like super helpful. So here we go, just thought I'd share them. So this was a message that I was allowed to share anonymously, so I did share it on my story by one of my lovely followers who sent in this reply. And she said, "Source, I'm an occupational therapist and trainee psychotherapist with lived experience of trauma, and I've worked with adults and children with mental health problems for 7 years." And she said, "Sounds like your nervous system has been triggered into fight or flight, so you can do a few different things to get it back into check. One approach is to do really vigorous exercise, like run up and down stairs if you have them, do star jumps, running on the spot, pushing against a wall, etc., because this gives your body the hit your nervous system needs to tell it that you have either fought off or run away from the threat, and it will calm you down." So that's really interesting. I'd never even thought of any of those things before. So yeah, I found that was really good to know and to bear in mind. She then went on to say, "You can plunge your face into cold water with ice in it if you can, or put a bag of frozen veg or something on your face. It needs to be around the eye and temple area, as that can soothe anxiety. Also, breathe in for 4 and out for 7. So as in breathe in for 4 counts. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then out for 7 counts in your head. Or whatever you can manage, as long as the out breath is longer than the in breath." So I've heard that even with like meditation and stuff, like breath work is obviously like the simplest kind of form of like meditation you can do, and that is like I think like a proven thing that like doing the breathing out for longer helps to like calm your body. And then they go on to say, longer term, to soothe the nervous system that is reacting to a real or perceived threat, make sure you are doing lots of right brain activities. You can also stimulate your vagus nerve by humming, gargling, singing, dancing, connecting with other humans, looking around the room. Sounds silly, but looking up, down, right, left, floor, ceiling soothes your nervous system that there isn't a real threat. So that kind person sent all of that information over, and I think that's such good like practical physical things you can do. So even if you try out all of those methods next time you need to, and then if there's one that you find most helpful, and that's something you can then put into practice next time you feel that way. So I think that's like super useful stuff. I was so grateful that they shared all of that with me, and then I was able to share that with you all. Then I put up like a box in my story, so they DM'd me, and then I had lots of shorter replies in like the story, the story box where people can put in their answers to a question. So someone said, come to the present moment, think about what only you can have in control right now. I think that's a great idea, just to get back to like, what's now, what's real, what you can actually do. Somebody else said, I put everything I'm thinking or feeling onto paper and then rip up as much as possible. That's also a great idea, and like a physical way of feeling maybe in control of that situation. Someone else said, do you try grounding? So I haven't really not knowingly tried grounding before, but I know that helps a lot of people. So for anyone who doesn't know what grounding is, I thought I'd just Google and give some examples. So as a base thing, it says it's basically just connecting with the earth, or like your skin touching earth or natural things. So even on one of the first articles I've pulled up, which is from healthline.com, it says grounding is a practice that can help you pull away from flashbacks, unwanted memories, or challenging emotions. And they've got some examples. So they've said, put your hands in water, focus on the temperature of the water, how does it feel, and then doing cold water, warm water, etc. Pick up or touch items around you and focus on the texture of them, how they feel. Breathing deeply, taking a short walk and concentrating on how many steps you take. You could even count them. Holding a piece of ice and like the sensations that come with that. The scent related stuff, moving your body stuff, and then like feeling how your body feels and being very like aware of that. A lot of this sounds like meditation, to be fair to me. And then mental techniques, which is more like reciting something that you know, visualizing something that you like know, and describing all the things around you, the items that are in the room, and just like taking a few moments to kind of describe all the things that you can see, and just getting your brain to like focus on something else. They've also got soothing techniques on there, so picturing someone you love, sitting with a pet, listing your favourite things, planning something or touching something soft or comforting, listening to music that makes you feel good or makes you feel positive. And also just the basic thing of like getting your feet on some grass or on some like earth, just getting more in touch with like something natural and something calming. Basically there's loads of helpful stuff, so if you're interested in more about stuff, there's loads more in that same article. To be honest, I'll link it, as there's loads and loads of stuff there. So I think some of that stuff is things we might not think of or think to do, so it's good to have those techniques kind of saved in your memory for when you need them. But yeah, really interesting. I'm definitely going to try a lot more of these next time I'm struggling with something. Then somebody else said, what helps me is being present with my kids, therapy and walks with the dogs. focusing on my senses. Yeah, 100%. That's all really helpful stuff. Someone else said, when I'm having bad, alarming thoughts, I try to replace them with something good in my life. It's not easy. Somebody else said, lots of comforts and kindness, usually a good cry, and then trying to focus on something else. Being kind to myself, a nice cup of tea, cozy clothes, hot water bottle, often a bath and nice food. Can definitely relate to that. I'm definitely the kind of person who puts on like a comforting outfit. Like if I need to be gentle with myself or more kind of kind, like feel soothed. Yeah, if I need to be feeling soothed, I always put on like my softest sweatshirt and sweatpants and just like get really like physically soft and comfortable, like remove the bra. I mean, I literally wear like comfortable bras nowadays, but yeah, just literally want my body to feel soothed by what I wear. So I can definitely relate to that one. And the food thing, I'm definitely a comfort eater. I'm the first to say like, oh fuck it, let's get a takeaway, but sometimes it's just so comforting. Somebody else said, having my own space, journaling, walking, talking about it, meditating, and yoga. All really good suggestions to try in general. Someone else said, sit with it, give it your attention, and write what comes to your head. That's a great idea. I'm definitely a big believer in writing out your feelings, writing out just everything. I think it helps so much to give clarity and to get those things out of your head and onto something else, onto paper, into your phone, whatever. It helps just to get them out of your head, because that's why I think we spiral, is when it's all just whizzing around in our heads, and it's like, if you imagine all the thoughts just floating around and flying around, it's like hectic. Whereas if you like pin them down onto paper, then they're on the paper, they're not in your head. And that really helps me as well anytime I feel overwhelmed in general, not just to do with feeling triggered. Someone else said, I let myself feel my emotions and I go to my comfort person and be with them till I'm okay. Yeah, I relate to that. Like I said, I'll go to my partner or my mum or whoever I'm with and just like have a hug, or just, yeah, like be held, or whatever I can get to soothe me. Like, yeah, I think if you're blessed enough to have the presence of somebody else around you when you're feeling that way, then it can be really helpful, even just to like hold a hand and just like focus on there being somebody else there. Someone else said, getting in a good sweat with an upbeat playlist usually does the trick for me. Somebody else said, sounds daft and not everyone's thing, but ska punk helps lift me up with the vibes from all the instruments. I think nothing is like a daft suggestion, because if it helps, it helps. So yeah, music is definitely such a mood booster, as I've talked about in a couple of my episodes now, and it's also something that's can really just give you something to focus on. Like if you're singing along, your brain has to focus on saying the words, getting them in time, and I think it's a good thing to give yourself to do if you need a distraction, just having a big sing-along sesh. Somebody else wrote in and said, remembering that I can make a bigger difference with those around me than for the things I cannot control. So again, I guess just remembering what you can actually control instead of focusing on what you can't control is helpful for a lot of people. Somebody else said, look at grounding techniques used in PTSD, have an item to touch, a stone, a fidget toy, etc. I definitely have items that I didn't realise I was maybe doing that with. Like I have a lot of crystals that I hold, just I haven't used them for that yet, but I definitely will be in the future, because I have a lot of items, for example, on my bedside, like crystals, different like sized ones, palm stones, like that I hold for different things, or just, yeah, it's comforting. So I think I'm definitely going to try that next time myself. Somebody else said, I look at the sky and I say, you are not in that place, you are safe, and I end it with gratitude. I love that. That's lovely. Really like that. Someone else said, I come away from my phone completely and I write down the things I'm grateful for. Another response was, allowing myself to feel what I feel in the safety of my home. Yeah, that's so true. I guess I'm similar. Like, it's only really happened to me when I'm at home, and I always feel so glad that I can just go get in bed and just feel like safe in my home from those things. So yeah, that's it's good to remind yourself. Somebody else said, realize that the present moment is all that you ever have, and that you are always safe, protected and guided. And the last one I got was checking out from seeing people and recharging myself by chilling at home watching cheesy TV in my PJs. That's actually reminded me that that's another thing I do, like when I was struggling, like last month, and when in general it's happened, I always try to put on like a really uplifting program or something that's like just kind of entertaining, so it's like distracting. A good example is Queer Eye, which you've heard me go on about loads of times now, but Queer Eye is my favourite, like wholesome, uplifting, or just any kind of like, I love like a home makeover, life makeover type show, so things like that, or even travel programs, like anything that's like a comfort watch for you, or something that you find that you can get really like lost in a good way, is definitely something that can be like soothing and distracting. So yeah, that's definitely something I do as well. And I just thought I'd share some of these, because when you're in that mind space sometimes, because your head's so muddled with the thoughts you're thinking and the fear and all of that, it's hard to remember the things that'll help you. So I thought it'd be helpful to make like a little episode where you can come back and listen to this if you get into that place yourself, and have some tips right here, and also just something to listen to. Just know that you're not alone. Like, unfortunately, so many of us do struggle with feeling triggered by all kinds of things, all kinds of traumas, all kinds of things in this world. The world can be such an overwhelming place for a lot of us, and you are safe right now, and if you're not, get yourself somewhere safe. But yeah, just look after yourself the best you can while you're going through all of that. Try some of these techniques out, and why not just try them all out, to be fair. You might find something that really helps you next time, and you might find like a good way of coping with it. And I think it's about those kind of healthy coping mechanisms. As when I was younger, and like trigger warning for anyone who's listening, like self-harm, like I definitely had unhealthy coping mechanisms, and I think a lot of people do, whether it's things like self-harm or it's less obvious things like alcohol abuse, substance abuse, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of sometimes easier to turn to those things that are self-destructive, whereas it can be a bit more of a choice to think, right, I'm going to do something that's actually going to help me. But doing the things that actually help you is just so much better. Like, it feeds your soul instead of hurts your soul further. I know it's easy to look for like a quick distraction when you're in those moments, but if you can find something that really helps you, it will move you forward to a better place instead of like down a spiral, which I think like the alcohol and other kinds of things that can just hurt you further will do. So try some of these things out and see what helps you, see what soothes you, and hopefully these will be some helpful tips for next time you need some soothing or you're feeling triggered. And yeah, just know that everything's going to be all right, and you're not a failure for struggling with what's either happened to you or what triggers you. Like, it's okay. And yeah, if you are able to get some form of therapy or counselling or anything for it, then amazing. But if not, or in the meantime, then definitely try out some of these methods to help you when you are struggling. So yeah, sending you a massive hug and sending all of the peace and good energy that I can your way. I hope you found this helpful.